Welcome into Dolphins Today. I'm your host, Jake Riepma. So happy to have you along. And I come with good news. In fact, really good news. We've got a ton to get to on today's show, but I want to start it with some positive news. Let's give it up. Jaylen Waddle has officially cleared the NFL's concussion protocol. And what have we been saying all week? He's trending in that direction of being able to play on Sunday, but after being a full participant in Wednesday's practice and then being officially cleared of the concussion protocol today, I firmly believe that Jaylen Waddle is going to play on Sunday, which is great news for the Miami Dolphins offense. I mean, they put up 70 points last week without him. You add one of the NFL's best wide receiver to that ingredient, and it is a recipe for success. So Jaylen Waddle clears concussion protocol. We'll get into all of that and what that means. We've also got some NFL power rankings. I love diving into this. We've got our Chat Sports NFL power rankings, and we'll see where the Dolphins stack up on that one. Only undefeated team remaining in the AFC, so you got to feel good about where the Dolphins are through 3 weeks of play. And they're getting some love nationally. We talked the other day about some haters out there, but lo and behold, there are plenty of people buying in to this Miami Dolphins success so far. We'll tell you who they are and who believes this Miami Dolphins team is legitimate and for real. And congratulations are in order for our guy, the one and only Tua Tagovailoa. He was named the AFC Player of the Month earlier today. So shout out to Tua Tagovailoa, my guy, your guy. We love him, and we'll get into a real congratulatory celebration for Tua being named the AFC Player of the Month. So all that's coming up on Dolphins Today, and let's get right into it. Jaylen Waddle officially cleared. I mentioned they scored 70 points without him, but let's be real here. Jaylen Waddle adds just one more element to this offense. Mike McDaniel and Frank Smith have been play calling wizards together. So when you add in a guy like Jaylen Waddle against a really tough defense like the Buffalo Bills, that is impactful. Take a look at Jaylen Waddle's stats through 2023 in just the 2 games played. Hasn't scored a touchdown yet, but look at that average, 20 yards per catch. He's one of those guys that when he makes a catch and when he has the ball in his hands, he does all kinds of damage, and we've seen him do it time and time again. We love Jaylen Waddle. I know you do, so let me know in the comments. Let's officially welcome Jaylen Waddle back from injury. Type those 17s in the chat. Number 17, Jaylen Waddle. Let him know that the Dolphins faithful is happy to see him back in the lineup. So get to type in the chats the number 17. We're so glad Jaylen Waddle is back. Now, 3 weeks are in the books, and the Dolphins are the only AFC team that remains unbeaten. Chat Sports has their NFL power rankings, and as you might expect, the San Francisco 49ers are at the very top. They were last week's number 1 team in the NFL as far as Chat Sports power rankings are concerned. But what do we see there at number 2 but a jump from the previous week's number 4 all the way up to number 2, our very own Miami Dolphins. They're 3-0, only undefeated team in the AFC. Last week, they were number 4 in the NFL power rankings, and this week, they are up to number 2. Philadelphia Eagles fell back a spot because they haven't looked overwhelmingly impressive, and aside from the brotherly push, I don't know what they've got going for them. I'm just kidding. They're a talented team, of course, but Miami has looked just a little bit more impressive than the Philadelphia Eagles have. Kansas City Chiefs, defending Super Bowl champions, of course, we're going to see them in the power rankings. They have the one loss to the Detroit Lions in week 1, but since then they've looked pretty unstoppable and falling all the way back to 5 after their really kind of surprising and maybe not that shocking because Cowboys going to Cowboys, right? But they lost on the road against Arizona, so they're back to number 5 in our Chat Sports rankings. So I ask you, only undefeated team remaining in the AFC, the Miami Dolphins, Where do you have them in your NFL power rankings? Let me know in the chat. It's our pinned comment for the day. So if YouTube hits you with that ad break, not to worry. Just type in the chat where the Miami Dolphins are in the NFL power rankings, 1 through 32. Let me know. I still think the Dolphins haven't quite done enough to earn that coveted top spot in the NFL power rankings. However, this coming weekend, oh my goodness, what an opportunity for the Dolphins to continue to prove how legitimate they are, going up against a very talented Buffalo Bills team and especially a very good Buffalo Bills defense. If you missed our preview earlier in this week, make sure you watch that because we get into all the different details. But this is a prove-it game for the Miami Dolphins. I said it earlier this week. I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. The Miami Dolphins can put the rest of the league on notice after this weekend's game against the Buffalo Bills if they're able to go into Buffalo and do what they've done all season long, and that is be electric on offense, protect Tua Tagovailoa, spread the ball around to the different weapons this offense has, and be opportunistic on defense and force some turnovers. We know Josh Allen can be prone to turnovers. So I've got the Dolphins at number 2 in my NFL power rankings, but if they go take care of business in Buffalo this weekend, look out. You know who else believes in the Miami Dolphins? None other than Colin Cowherd. I'll tell you exactly what he said in just a moment. But before we go any further, I got to give a shout out to Prize Picks. Dolphins Today is sponsored by Prize Picks. They're made possible by Prize Picks, which is awesome because I love using Prize Picks for my daily fantasy sports because it's the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's super easy to win. And for a guy like me, I'm not the best with technology, but their app is super easy to use and ultimately easy to win big. How easy is it? Well, I'm so glad you asked. You just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. It's that easy. So forget those complicated spreadsheets. They never really worked anyways. Quit trying to compete against hundreds and hundreds of other people. With Prize Picks, it's just you versus the projections, baby. It's that easy. You guys know I already got my picks ready for Sunday, and I'm taking the more on projected receiving yards for Tyreek Hill, 94.5. That's a tall task, but I believe Tyreek Hill can do it, so I'm picking more on that. And, you know, Tua Tagovailoa, he's the AFC Player of the Month. Of course, I'm taking more on his projected passing yards of 276.5. So with Prize Picks, it's that easy. Select more or less. It's the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. So don't wait. Set up your Prize Picks account today. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to 100 buckaroos. All right, Colin Cowherd, you know, say what you will about him. The guy's all over the place. I think he runs an entertaining show, sure. But he said this week, and he has the Miami Dolphins as the number 1 team in his power rankings, saying, quote, "It's a fireworks show. Get a ticket and pay for it." That's how Colin Cowherd feels about this Miami Dolphins team. And I tend to agree with him because that's one way to describe this offense and what's been going on with Tua Tagovailoa and the rest of the weapons that he has. Tyreek Hill leads the NFL in receiving yards. It's a firework display every time the Dolphins have the ball. So shout out to Colin Cowherd for recognizing the Dolphins' greatness that is on the offensive side of things. Now, we told you about Jaylen Waddle. Unfortunately, the Dolphins' injury list is rather lengthy. A number of guys that were either limited in practice this week or sitting out practice for various reasons. Mike McDaniel spoke earlier in the week about River Craycraft, as you see on the screen there. He's likely out on Sunday against the Bills with that shoulder injury he suffered in Week 3 against the Broncos. And unfortunately, his timeline may be longer than some of these other guys. At the top of the list there, Teron Armstead, and he's been all over the place. Of course, he missed the first 2 weeks of the season, but that's a guy, it's an all-pro. He doesn't necessarily need to be taking a beating during the week of practice, so he sat out some of the practices this week. And I don't think that's the biggest deal per se. We'll definitely keep our eyes on it as we progress into the weekend leading up to Sunday on where Teron Armstead is at. Jaelan Phillips, that one's also a little bit more intriguing in the sense that it's day to day. He sat out week 2 against the Patriots, but then played in the first half of that game against the Broncos. However, had to leave the game and did not return. In week 2, he was dealing with the back spasms. Week 3, it was the oblique injury that had him leave the game against the Broncos. So that one's day to day. We'll monitor it as we get closer to the weekend. Connor Williams with that groin injury, same thing. Mike McDaniel's even said those guys are kind of in the same boat as far as assessing it on a daily basis. Eric Ezukama, same ordeal, day-to-day, dealing with a neck injury. So, just like anything, keep your notifications posted to Dolphins Today. Subscribe to our Dolphins channel because we've got updates as news breaks, especially as it relates to the injury report. Now, one thing Colin Cowherd did say about the Dolphins and what might be their Achilles heel is simply the injury bug. And we just went through a whole host of injuries. Obviously, that's a part of the life in the National Football League. There's going to be injuries that happen. My take on that is pretty simple. If this team can stay healthy, there's no reason they can't continue the climb that they're on. I mean, yes, let's get crazy and talk Super Bowl. Absolutely. When you're the top-ranked team in the AFC, that's always the conversation, and that's always the goal with the team like the Miami Dolphins. So at full strength, when they're completely healthy, this is certainly a Super Bowl contending team. Why? Because they've got arguably the best quarterback in the league, certainly the best quarterback in the first 3 weeks of the season. Tua Tagovailoa named the AFC Player of the Month, so congratulations to him. And in my opinion, this was kind of the easy choice, right? If you take a look at his stats over the course of the first 3 games, he's first in just about every passing statistic or category. And I know Kirk Cousins has thrown for a few more yards than Tua Tagovailoa, but 71.3 completion percentage, over 1,000 passing yards, the 8 touchdowns with just 2 interceptions. And most importantly, he is the general of that offense that leads the National Football League in scoring by a long shot. And they have 4 more scoring touchdowns on offense than any other team in the National Football League. So it goes without saying, but it is worth noting that Tua Tagovailoa is off to a historic start in terms of franchise history with the Miami Dolphins. No Dolphins quarterback has ever passed for as many yards as Tua has in his first 3 games. Take a look there. 1,024 passing yards through 3 games. That's the most in franchise history. So show our guys some love. Let them know in the comments. Spam it right now. Type number 1 to show AFC Player of the Month, Tua Tagovailoa, some love for that prestigious award. Congratulations to him. He's the man. He is him. We know it, and we look forward to seeing it proven once again on Sunday. So, Dolphins fans, on Sunday, we've got another watch party scheduled. If you've been with us for the first 3, they've been excellent. They've been a blast. I mean, I didn't know exactly what I was getting into at Chat Sports when they told me watch parties, but I'm so glad I did because they are electric. We have a ton of fun. We do all kinds of giveaways, super chats, you know the deal. It's a blast. So make sure you're subscribed to get that notification for when we're doing a watch party for every single Dolphins game this year. Want to thank everybody for tuning in as we continue to get you set for Dolphins Bills on Sunday. Keep it locked to Dolphins Today for the latest Dolphins news, injury updates, and everything surrounding the Miami Dolphins. Have a wonderful afternoon. We'll see you next time.